Right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a moment of silence, please? Okay, thank you. Roll call. Ms. Culberson?
Here.
KAAZ?
Here.
Smith here.
Here.
And Mr. Stephen?
Here.
All righty. Public comment. I think, Joe, is Joe the only one in the public comment?
He said he didn't.
You're not? Okay. Well, that makes that easy. Thank you, Joe. It surprises me. I don't have something to say, but we'll take that.
You'll have another chance later.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's what I was afraid of. Administrative business, Mark, or?
I have some.
Go ahead.
I think I found somebody for a planning commission for my district. I have them turn in an application, have Crystal and them vet them. Should be bringing that to you then.
Great.
That's fantastic.
And I also have Dan Marshall. Mark said to put him on the consent agenda. Is that how you want to handle it?
Yeah, if the commissioner has somebody they want, they can put them on the consent agenda. We can pull them off if anybody on the board challenges that.
Okay. Sure. All righty. Okay, well, I guess we're at consent agenda. Anything we need to remove?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Start with Mr. Culberson.
Aye.
Ms. KAAZ.
Aye.
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 Okay, Mark, I believe I'm turning this over to you. Were you handling consideration of motion authorized?
The revenue neutral rate?
Yeah.
The clerk's here.
Oh, good
Probably
morning.
answer questions better than I.
Okay.
Morning. Good
morning.
With the Senate Bill 13, by July 20th, the Commission must decide whether they want to go above the revenue neutral rate. Also, as part of this intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate, you need to set a tentative. And when I say tentative, that's exactly what it is. Mill rate for the 2022 budget. You can always lower that. So we would need a motion to, with the intent to exceed for the county budget, plus we would need a motion to exceed revenue neutral for the special funds, which would be local service and our sewer districts. Does anyone have any questions?
So the motion would either have to say we want to lower the quarter mill or no, just
really
that we are going to exceed revenue neutral.
That's all that.
Yep.
All right.
Once, you know,
And even
we
though
have
we're
more
still working
discussion on the budget, at that point, you will decide at what rate you want to set the mill levy. Today is nothing but if the board has the desire to go above the revenue neutral rate.
I listened to a podcast from Kansas Association of Counties, and they were basically saying if you come out from underneath the revenue neutral, now basically we basically have an unlimited ability to modify our mill levy. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, because the tax lid has been lifted.
Right.
Also having unlimited what we can lower.
This is just a
Procedure.
declaration
It is.
that you're making. I will tell you that
This has to go.
the majority of the taxing entities in Leavenworth County,
Yes.
from as small as your township to your cities to your school districts, have made that declaration that they will exceed the revenue neutral.
Well, if they provide fuel and health insurance, or they buy fuel and provide health insurance for their employees, there's no way you can stay revenue neutral.
That's the bottom line.
That's my opinion.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Let's go ahead. Well, Vicki, you want to make a motion?
Sure. Motion to authorize the chairman to sign the indication of exceeding the revenue neutral rate for Leavenworth County funds pursuant to Kansas Statute 79-1460, 79-1801, 79-2024, and 79-2925C.
Second. Motion is second. Any discussion? Go ahead,
Just
Mike.
a comment, I will be voting no because earlier in our discussion, we had talked about what the position on the mill levy would be, and the board had decided they would keep it level, and I'd like to see it reduced, so I'm going to be voting no on all of these budget matters because I want to see the mill levy drop.
Well, this isn't
got
about the
anything
mill
to do with
levy.
the mill levy.
This is just
Well-
asking you, are you going to keep the budget exactly the same as it was last year? Yes.
The reason I'm going to oppose all of these budget provisions until we get a consensus among the board that we want to lower the mill levy.
Okay. Anything else? Then I'll call the roll. Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
KAAZ?
Aye.
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 No.
I do want to lower the mill levy.
Yep. We're getting to that, gentlemen. Hold on. We found a fix. Everybody calm down.
So anyway, no on that.
Okay. Next item is see, consider a motion to authorize staff to enter into an agreement with Aetna for county health.
Commissioner,
we need to do
there's
the
actually
second
two
one.
of
Oh, I'm
those.
sorry.
You have to have two.
I'll jump right to that.
They
I'm
look
sorry.
exactly the same, but one of them's for the special fund.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll make a motion to authorize the chairman to sign the indication of exceeding the revenue neutral rate for Leavenworth County, other special district funds pursuant to Kansas Statute 79-1460, 79-1801, 79-2024, and 79-2925C.
I'll second it. Motion is second. Any more discussion? Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Aye.
KAAZ? Aye.
Aye. And I do want to lower the mill levy a quarter.
And no.
Okay. Okay, now, consider a motion to authorize staff to enter an agreement with Aetna for county health insurance.
Commissioners, yeah, maybe, but we'll see what they want to do. Commissioners, this is a process we actually start clear back in January. And in the past, for the past several years, I think 5 years potentially, we've used Blue Cross Blue Shield. And we've had some challenges with them, but most importantly, the last couple of years, they come back with a fairly high rate, which we then negotiate with, and they bring it down to something more reasonable. This year, their response was lacking. So we asked our broker with Riley and Sons to go out and solicit proposals for insurance. It's not something we take lightly because we know it's a challenge for our staff anytime we change health insurance. But and Mike Riley is here, so if you have questions about that process, you can certainly ask him. But Mike went out to the market and got some very competitive rates, was able to negotiate back and forth, and we have some proposals which you can see the renewals in the budget in the packet today. But Aetna, which is a very respected company, and all these companies are very respected, they all have similar reviews. And Aetna is one of the larger ones, actually, for coverage for our staff. So they came back with a proposal that is actually a little bit down from our current rate this year by $100,000. So keep in mind, as we were preparing the budget, we were working with the numbers that we had at the time, which was only Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Mark, let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
With going with this thing. I know the county commissioners are taking some heat on trying to keep it level, even going lower, which I always have supported. By going with Aetna, which is a top brand, top name, like that will give us, when we get into the budget opportunity towards the end of the, going to work session, to make up that difference in the quarter that we're looking at. Is that correct? I know we've had conversations on this.
This would reflect a savings to the county. While we budget some of this already, yes, that would be approximately $200,000 less than what we were anticipating when we prepared the budget. So that would be about $250,000. So yes,
there's a savings we can.
That would be the opportunity. And one thing to understand on this whole process is, and I really appreciate what Riley does for us. We would not have that if not for going out to market. And two, we didn't have it until Thursday of last week late, and actually the final proposals came in Friday morning, and we had that deadline on so that we could get a packet together because our renewal is in August. I mean, our open enrollment is in August.
October 1.
Yeah,
So we were really pushing it this year, and we've done all we could. But when we did the initial budget proposal, keep in mind, this was not an option. We didn't have this information yet. So,
but at the same time, Mark, that's why we do 3 or 4 months of budgeting. That's why you got to have a starting point, and then you hopefully can come up with a good answer to the meal levy and things like that. And I think this is going to be a good one when we get down the line.
Right.
So I appreciate the staff and what they did on this. That gives them.
But hold that thought. The sheriff's coming up here in a minute.
I was just going to say, sometimes the 3 months makes it worse.
But that's all right. My only question is this. I mean, I don't know if we have all the details. Is all the local doctors and all that with this company? I mean, is anybody going to have to switch doctors to where we all of a sudden get an influx of high usage because people got to go find new doctors?
If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor.
Bring my cup.
I've heard this before.
Well, I'm not on that.
So, commissioners, with 400 plus employees, I don't know that I could say absolutely somebody's not going to have to make a change because I don't know their doctors. They don't have to report that to us, rightly so.
Welcome, Mike.
But I can tell you that Aetna is one of the larger networks available, and they do a lot of Medicare, Medicaid. So we did a spot check with some of the local folks, and they're pretty well. But I'll let Mike answer some of the questions about who they currently cover. And
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, thank you. I would agree with Mr. Lawfrey. Yes, with 400 employees, undoubtedly you're going to have some disruption with somebody or with a few employees. However, we have done a cross-check as best we can. All the local hospitals, including local meaning around the general area from Leavenworth County, are included in Aetna's plan. All the local pharmacies are in. And again, 99% of the local doctors are in this plan. So it's not going to be 100% for anybody probably at all times. But
let me ask you this, Mike. Even if it stayed with Blue Cross, every year the plans change. So somebody may have not been able to have the prescriptions as low, which I think Aetna does a great job, or something like that. So there's always a change in it, no matter if you kept the same company or not.
That's correct. Yeah, the health insurance companies are constantly changing, whether it's their prescription drug programs, being their formularies. A drug might go from generic to the midline pay. There's always movement, even within a carrier.
Right.
So as Mark mentioned earlier, we don't take this lightly, given the fact that it does affect all the employees and a lot of their families. And as little disruption as we can cause, we like to have. So that's why a 5-year relationship with Blue Cross, a previous 8-year relationship with United Healthcare, we like to see those kind of long-term commitments. Unfortunately, I think due to budget and not only budget, but what we found when we went to market, Blue Cross is just not responsive this year. And so based off of that, it was, I think, pretty evident that Aetna was the clear winner in the clubhouse and is a great carrier. They're one of the top 5. And what was great to see this year is really we're down to about 5 in health insurance carriers across the board. And all 5 major carriers responded with really competitive rates. So top to bottom, we were pleased with what the market was saying about the Leavenworth County account. But Aetna was by far and away the winner.
Question. Mr. Riley, thanks for coming up here. Appreciate it. Question I have is, and I don't understand the competitive bidding on the insurance. But why, if you were presented, why would Blue Cross, if they're presented, the numbers are, here's the numbers we're getting from somebody else, why wouldn't they match that? How does this work? I mean, is there just an algorithm that they use, or do we even know?
Yeah, it's a great question. Blue Cross had, quite honestly, 3 cuts at this. We gave the incumbent, them being the incumbent, as many opportunities to keep this account as we possibly could, to the last minute, actually. We actually extended until kind of Monday morning at 8:30 to get better numbers. Unfortunately, it just didn't happen. So why is that? Again, it goes back to a lot of what's going on in their own personal company, what's going on in their book of business. Obviously, they know certain things about the account, given the fact that they've been on the account for 5 years, and they're running math based off of what they know. But it could be just their overall book of business that's being adjusted, because quite honestly, when we went to Blue Cross and Blue Shield about 5 years ago, it was about a 20% savings from where the market was taking Leavenworth County. And so they were, again, when we made that switch from United Healthcare to Blue Cross, it was an eye-shocking number. And quite honestly, they've stayed in a 3 to 5% renewal increase range. And so it could just be the market, the timing of their book of business, that they're not willing to remain competitive.
But you've had to aggressively negotiate that rate every year, though.
We have.
Came in, threw out something pretty.
As Mark mentioned, the challenge with public entities is we always start early in the budgeting process, right? And we try to get, at the time, based off of the numbers back in January and February and the usage, what that renewal would look like for October. Well, back in January and February, you're only dealing with 3 or 4 months of data of claims, right? And so, it typically runs a little hot around the first of the year. And so, they're throwing out larger numbers to us at that point in time, which we communicate back why you see a larger number in your budget. And then we just go to work. We go to work in the marketplace and we start whittling it down. So,
this is normal, though, that company, when I was the mayor in Lansing city administrator, it was always a last minute thing. It's because of the way they're set up. Enjoyed a great relationship with them, but even out there it got too high. Depending on what the way they do business, exactly right. They have to do what they think they can do. But I've used this company, and maybe I shouldn't say that, but I've used this company before, and I'm on it now, and they're very responsive, and they do a really good job.
Yeah, we have no hesitation taking you to Aetna. We've presented a list of large employers. I've asked Aetna for a list of large public entity employers that have provided Mark and Janet in the general area, state of Kansas, many school districts, City of Lawrence, School District of Lawrence, North Kansas City Schools. So there's a large list of public entity business that Aetna handles. And so I have no hesitation taking you there. There will be disruption, which we'll work through. As any time there's a change, it's just a learning curve, right, with people and new processes and all that good stuff. And I can guarantee you one thing, Blue Cross will be back in knocking on your door in a couple of years, wanting your account back.
That's just the way it works.
Have they given any indication of the timeline for getting the new cards and the stuff to the employees so that they have in their hands?
Yes, so we're actually trying to schedule a meeting based off of this meeting with Janet and her staff to just talk about the behind-the-scenes details. Right. The meetings are set with HR as far as the enrollment goes, so that is going to be in early August. Aetna is fully aware of that. We'll have staff, and the cards will be here, obviously, well in time for October 1 rollout.
Sounds like we better get to moving then.
Yeah,
Ready for a motion,
yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I move that we authorize staff to enter into agreement with Aetna for county health insurance coverage for employees.
Second.
Motion a second. Any more discussion?
I think we've had Aetna before. Years ago, we used to have a choice. We'd give county employees a choice of like 5 different insurance companies.
Yeah,
Aetna
Those
was
days are
one of
gone.
them.
Tier 2,
Yeah.
Tier
Back in
4,
the
single.
Yeah,
that's
was
what
one
he
of
Those
them.
were the good
Good
old
old
days.
days.
Yeah, that's what you
Back in the day.
The railroad does. We have United Healthcare, and then, but for our dental, we have Edna.
Yeah.
So,
So my point is, we've used them before.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was fine.
Okay.
We were young, though.
Yeah.
Now we have an
Didn't really
aging
need 'em.
fleet.
how long ago was that?
Okay.
30-plus years.
Aye.
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 Okay, it's passed. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet and Mike, for everything you did.
Everybody,
Thank
folks.
you.
That was
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right. Consider a motion to approve the purchase and installation of an electronic door locking system for the Health Department in the amount of $33,824 through grant funding. Morning, Jim.
Morning, Commissioners. As Chairman said, I'm here to seek approval to authorize the Health Department to purchase the PARYS locking system. Currently, out at the Health Department facility, the EMS side already has the PARYS locking system through the COVID-19 ELC infrastructure grant for health departments. Part of that is to increase security to health department buildings. This would integrate in that PARYS system into that entire facility out there. I did get the quote from DH Pace to do all that system. It's about $33,824, and the money is there to be have this completed. So I'm seeking approval from the board to get that done.
Questions? Comments?
No.
And this is not cost sharing. They're paying all of it out of their
100%.
grant.
Yeah.
That's what I thought I saw.
Yeah, how could we say
Not a
that?
whole lot of time in that, is there?
All right, I'll take a motion then.
I move that we approve the purchase and installation of an electronic door locking system for the health department in the amount of $33,824 through grant funding.
Second?
Motion and second. Any more discussion? I like these guys. I like these guys. Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
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 Passed.
Thank you,
job,
Jamie.
Simple and easy.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay. Consider a motion to approve funding for 800 emergency pagers for municipal, townships, fire departments, and Lumberton County EMS in the amount of $147,753.55. Morning, Sheriff.
Sheriff, how are you?
So we have briefly spoke about this issue before, some of you individually and then as a board as well. What we're asking for is funding for replacement of pagers that are in use by EMS and some of the most of the fire districts in Leavenworth County. And just a very brief background, currently it's a VHF pager that's being used. Our VHF system went into service in 1976. 2008, we came on board with the 800 radio system. At that time, fire did not transition, and to be honest with you, I don't know that 800 pagers were an option at that point. However, we knew it was not a good option, and the fire departments knew it was not a good option to buy and issue everybody a portable radio, because a lot of them do have, jobs that they work at during the day, and it'd just be very disturbing to the workplace there. That and cost is prohibitive. So as part of our digital system, one of the benefits of it is instead of having just one dedicated channel, it can now be split many, many different ways off of one channel because it's digital. And so we had an update earlier this year, and part of the digital system is continuous updates. The radio system is a living, breathing thing. And so there's an update earlier this year that really hampered the effectiveness of the VHF paging system, because when we went live with this 800 system, we had to modify the VHF to work within. And so what's happening is when a tone goes out to a fire or EMS via the VHF system, the signal is now weakened because that has been split so many times. And so what we have seen, and what the major complaint has been, and honestly what the biggest concern is, fire departments are not receiving notification of incidents where they need to respond. A lot of it is proximity. It could be the further away they are from the main tower site. That could be geographical issues, whatever the case. But the signal's not strong enough to where it's tripping the page and they're being notified of an incident. In emergency response, seconds save lives. And so what this is creating is a lot of responders who are not getting the alert, a lot of responders who aren't getting a clear message, and then that magnifies into a lot of back and forth over the radio, which ties up the system. And as part of the emergency response system, if one piece is not working correctly, it affects everything else. Like I said, this really manifested itself earlier this year after all the entities involved had started their budget last year. So this was not something that we really could have forecasted and budgeted for in advance. So, and this is also something that I don't think we can budget and wait till next year, next budget to kick in. This is something we have to address now. We've worked at length with the fire departments, the fire association. We visited with EMS on multiple occasions, and we believe the best solution is to purchase 800 pagers, 800 megahertz pagers. So I'm speaking on behalf of the group as an advocate for this group because we do manage the system. We are an integral part in this system. And we're asking if there's any funding available through Leavenworth County that these these pagers may be purchased here in a very, very timely manner. The request on the RDA is in the neighborhood of $146,000. I believe that to be true. However, the numbers of pagers that are requested by the different fire departments are in fluctuation. I'm comfortable to say it's going to be in the $150,000 range once we get a total and true accurate count of what is actually needed versus what is wanted. So my request would be that the county be able to provide funding in the amount of in the area of $150,000 for the replacement of these pagers.
Okay. If we do provide funding, how long will it take to get all of this in place and get the pagers purchased and get it in?
So there's a process. From what I've been told and what my research indicates is there's only one company that produces an 800 pager. So they do it and they do it well. And so it's just inventory, getting it from them. We're talking in the neighborhood of around 250 pagers. The company that I've been working with doesn't seem to think that's an issue. They think probably a 3 to 4 week turnaround time, and that would include the programming of the pagers and then retro programming or updating our consoles and communications so that they can communicate correctly.
Okay. Sounds like this is pretty critical and needs to be moved on pretty quick. So
let me just ask one question, Sheriff. I agree, Doug. These pagers, will they be property of the fire districts, or will they be pagers of Leavenworth County?
Currently, they are the property of the fire district, the VHF pagers that are in use. My recommendation would be that the pagers fall under the control of Leavenworth County, specifically the sheriff's office, so that they can be managed, updated, and accounted for properly.
Yeah.
But that's kind of your decision. That's really not ours. Ours is just whether we can provide the funding, and I think we can. Am I accurate in saying that, Mr. Lawfrey?
Well, commissioners, these types of expenditures come up occasionally where they're kind of an emergency, and I guess you can't say it's more of an emergency than when it's emergency personnel.
I think it's more an emergency.
This will impact our cash carryover going into next year, but we do have available funds through a reallocation.
I think it's something we need to do.
I had a question.
Yeah, Mike.
Some of the townships received funding from the KAAZ Act, at least 2 of them, rather substantial amounts of funding. And all of the townships are tax entities where they have millage that they're taxing their localities. So the county taking on the entire burden of this seems like we should have some cost sharing, if possible, from some of the townships, because they are many of the townships have budgets that have funds, carryover funds that could be used as well. Is there any way we could get some voluntary cost sharing with the townships?
We also had some townships that didn't even apply for any of the funding.
Well, but most of them were notified. I know that. I know at least down
but
I mean, I'm concerned about the fact that they're asking the county to take on the entire burden of this. I mean, if we upfront do it, maybe we could, voluntarily request, if you want to cost share with the county, it would be helpful.
Well, I think, number one, I don't disagree that I believe the townships and cities involved have some responsibility. But like I said, largely, table's been cleared and the dishes have been washed before we knew meal was being served. So we're coming late to the table. Secondly, the desire to have it fall under the sheriff's office, be operated by the county, I think you detract from that if you're asking a township to have an expenditure for the system, but they don't have control over the item that they're buying. Not to say that as a board you can't deal with these townships and work out something. That's beyond my scope of concern right now. My concern is getting the equipment in the hand of the responder as quick as we can, so that they can respond in a timely manner.
Yeah, I tend to agree, Sheriff.
I agree.
This would have been nice if we could have done it. I would ask the fire districts and all those folks that, these are things that break down on a regular basis. I mean, they change every 10 years or so often, as you know, Sheriff, and maybe look at them in the future as a budget item. But I think this is something that we need to get on pretty quick.
And I think that as a budget item, they need to consider, in the future, because pagers need to be updated, there's an expense that is involved, that they need to have a financial commitment within their budgets to reimburse or to replace or to add additional to the available pagers. Right, they need to have something that for future investment, they need to invest something.
How do we enforce that? I mean, we could say that. How do we?
Well, I think just to put them on notice, I think this just got by them. I don't think they did anything wrong, but these systems, they go down and they change so often that they do mandate them for the last few years. And it's not just these, it's police departments and sheriff's department and everybody else has to constantly upgrade these.
Yeah, we can't have
I don't think we can delay this.
Right, we can't have our first responders not being able to respond as immediately as possible. We're already going to be delayed another month.
And if I may add just one more thing, it was a thought that I had Monday afternoon in realization that this is a unplanned expansion. It does affect the overall county budget. A possible solution, and Mark and I don't know that it's even allowable, but the idea that I had would be that I can make a purchase from equipment reserve that I currently have, with the agreement that any budget authority I have at the end of the year can be redirected back to replenish my expense up to that amount.
I think it's left-hand, right-hand type
We're
thing.
good.
I think it's cleaner just to go
It's
ahead.
cash carryover either way.
The way Marcus talked about it, Sheriff.
Yeah, that's fine. I just think that we really need to emphasize that the other entities, taxing entities, need to budget for future upgrades or whatever needs to happen, because your budget should not have to hold the burden of all of what's going to transpire in the future, or can. And we need to get these to them ASAP.
I completely agree.
Doug, do you have something?
Yeah, just is there a lease purchase option that would, or is that just
No, this
not
is
cost prohibitive?
It's an expense, just a one-time.
Well, then if that's the case, I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman. I would like to approve funding for the 800 megahertz pagers for municipal township fire departments, Leavenworth County EMS, in the amount of not to exceed $150,000.
Second?
Motion and second. Any more discussion?
I just think that we should develop some kind of mechanism to see to it that the townships are helping the funding with this in the future. And I don't know how we get there, but I think that's important.
There is a fire association meeting this evening, and undoubtedly this will be a topic of discussion, and we will definitely.
Can you relay that to them that we
Absolutely.
think
Thank
it should
you.
be
But in the meantime, we need to get this going.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
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 All right, pass. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item is consider a motion to approve Resolution 2021-24 and rezoning from RR5 to RR-2.5. Morning.
Morning, Crystal.
Morning, Crystal. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Okay.
All right. Commissioners, I have before you a request to approve Resolution 2021-24, which is a rezoning request from RR5 to RR2.5 on a piece of property located on the west side of 254th Street. This was brought before you 2 weeks ago. At that time, it was determined that an off-plat restriction, a deed needed to be filed stating that the property would not be divided into any more than 3 lots. The applicant has provided that. Mr. Van Parys has taken a look at it. It's my understanding Mr. Van Parys has approved the language within the deed. The applicant is willing to file this deed, granted that the rezoning is approved with this condition.
Okay. So it's just one more house than if it would be 2 6-acre tracts. I guess it's just one more house.
Correct.
And if the applicant decided not to go this way, it could cut a road in, private access or cross-access easement, and put in a lot more than 3 houses.
It's my understanding that that cannot happen with this deed
Right,
restriction.
that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
So
correct.
it's, as long as it's just one more house, it would be, when it was 5 acres. I don't, any thoughts?
Commissioner?
I just think as long as we have the agreements in
On the
place
comp plan.
and
Documentation.
the documentation, and it is understood, and that it is very clear on any future landowner person who purchases a lot, that they understand that that is it. That
I think some of the neighbors, I've been visiting with a few of the neighbors, and I think some of the angst about this has to do with the fact that Rocking Sea originally was developed to be a equestrian planned unit development, and then things changed. There was went into receivership, and it turned out the way it is now. And some of them, I think some of the neighbors believed that they were like promised that it wasn't going to ever turn into like lots of houses in the area, and I think that's a concern that I've heard.
right, but I think
But Rock
that
and Sea was always platted
2 point.
like it was.
Well, I know.
But they had equine, they had trails, they had a riding arena, they had all that. You know,
Lots of ideas fail. I mean,
right.
Which is too bad.
Yeah, but
Failing
Happens.
doesn't make you a failure.
pardon.
Failing doesn't make you a
No,
failure.
I said, but lots of ideas
Right,
don't go
they
as
do
men
fail.
planned. But this has assured that is not something that is going to happen with this specific.
It'll be 3 houses and that's it. And it's got the adequate road frontage.
Right.
Well, I think they accomplished what staff was directed to do, so
Yep.
any more? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Resolution 2021-24, a rezoning from Rural Route 5 to Rural Route,
Rural residential.
Rural Residential, sorry. 2.5. Well, that's
Deliver the
bad.
mail.
To Rural Residential, 2.5, and do I need to add that we have the
3 lots.
3-lot
deed.
maximum on the parcel?
Allowing a maximum of 3 lots on that.
Mr. KAAZ, that's part of the condition. The property owner voluntarily agreed to do that. I think in recognition of the concerns raised by the neighbors, they've agreed to limit it to 3 and to make that a more or less permanent condition on the property.
Second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion? Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
KAAZ?
Aye.
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 No.
Okay, passed 4-1. Okay, presentations and discussions. If we had anything on the books. Go ahead.
See where Kansas collected 9.3% surplus in taxes?
I was going to bring that up at budget time. I sure did, Commissioner.
Well, I'm just wondering when we'll start getting some of our money back.
I'm going to bring that up again. It's not going away.
I don't even think it's on their radar.
Well, then that's why we need to get it on their radar.
And I suggest a couple of things to that budget that I hope we can at least keep it on in front of them, not come up every year like it tends to do. And you make
We need a local legislator to champion it.
Well, that's where we're going to go. But we'll see who's going to really have anything in this game or not.
I think everybody's explained that.
Yep, no, that's right.
We just want to see everybody follow the law.
Really?
You're taking my speech, but go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, you go with it. I'm
It's
sure.
the budget time is the same
All right.
thing, Commissioner Smith.
All right. Well, I'm just saying.
I agree.
The state is not hurting for money. We are.
But yet we've got to live under guidelines that they send to us. But we'll have that discussion later.
And they don't have to vote to come out from underneath the level budget.
No revenue neutral for the
No.
state. Huh?
Well, they're not into where the rubber meets the
just
road.
do
or
it.
This
anything.
past year.
I know. We'll give them a chance to visit this a little bit. Anything else?
Well, I
Go
just,
ahead.
I want to recognize just very quickly Caitlin Hardigan, who was at the City Commission meeting last night. She's one of our community corrections employees, and she has gotten the people that she supervises and things, and they have adopted Doherty Park in the city of Leavenworth, which I think is a really creative
Yes.
method of allowing individuals to work off, community service for, for their whatever they might have been charged with or on probation for. But I think that's really cool, and that Caitlin was there, and I just want to give her a thumbs up
That's great.
for doing that.
Jeff, did you have anything you'd like to discuss?
No.
And then last week I attended both the Port Authority update for their committee for the spec building, and then also the LCDC meeting.
Yeah. I was there with the spec on building also. Interesting, even though it's something we've tried to do in the past. Vicki, anything else?
There was one more thing. And I can't
JCAB
think of what it was.
tomorrow.
Yep,
You'll be able
JCAB
to
is.
make that one?
Yep, I will be for JCAB tomorrow and the adult things coming up. And
I do have one question, Vicki. When we were visiting with, last week we had the discussion of LCDC, it was brought up about the reserve funds within the Port Authority, that there was $758,000 reserves.
Yeah, it's close to
And
800,000.
the comment was made that those reserve funds, because in sort of the negotiation process, we had said that we might need to plug in $40,000 of reserve funds, and the comment was made that those reserve funds are now all committed, and that was the first I had heard of that. So are you familiar with that, or do you know that those funds are committed?
I'm no more familiar than anyone else. I just know that they provide their budget report every year or every month, and it's within
Said it was committed.
it's within there, and so I don't.
Do we have any more information that those are committed, Mark?
I mean, they're a separate entity from the county, so they don't submit any kind of a form to us that has to commit those funds. Those funds are in their bank account.
But you've not heard of it?
No, I haven't heard that they've committed those funds.
So, I mean, because that's an issue when it comes to, and I thought maybe you attend those meetings, and I wish more of us could we're going to only have 2 commissioners there, and I just didn't know what the status of that was.
Well, Commissioner Smith was in the same thing that I was in, and that was not part of the discussion. It's just, they were just discussing the potential for the fundings available or not to do a spec building, and
Yeah, it just makes you wonder if that's some funding's being used. That
and
you say,
I do
don't
not
know.
I do not know. I think that there just hasn't. I have not heard of any. I think that they have that setting for potential incentives for people that might be wanting to bring build. So I think that that's probably what the commitment is that it's there for incentives in case that somebody wants to bring something to Leavenworth County, and that the Port Authority or the LCDC have those funds available to provide those.
When we had our task force, though, we were discussing, and we can get into this later when we're doing the work session, but we had said that when we were going to maybe potentially transition to a different paradigm on the having our own person, that maybe in order to get us there with the funding, we might have to see if we could fill in some of those funding gaps. And then at our meeting the other day, they stated that those funds are all spoken for. So I think that's kind of we need to have a clarification on that.
And that's something that next time attend. But there's still one person can always come to the LCDC meetings. I just happen to take the time to.
And this kind of gets to the whole issue of communication. That needs to be improved for sure, no matter what we do on the budget.
Right. And then I would also add that I did visit with, following the meeting last week with Jake LaTurner to ask the questions about the TRICARE issue that was brought up during the budget discussions.
He was
the
there.
providers.
Congressman was there, correct?
Yes. And so just wanted to say that he indicated that he would look into it, and he will get back with us to answer those questions.
I'm glad you made it to that, because I didn't think he'd be there. I thought he just had a
No,
rep
he was there.
That's
He
good.
was
He
there, and 2 of his staff members were there.
Anything else, Vicki?
Nope, that's it.
Doug,
Basher tonight. I did not make the stranger last Thursday because the sheriff had kind of sent what he was requesting on these pagers anyway. So after reading what the sheriff had given us, I just knew there wasn't any way we could just delay this any longer. We had to approve this today. Get this going.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else, Doug?
JCAB tomorrow, but I'm going to try to be there.
I will be.
Okay.
Mike?
Went to the farmer's market, and I visited with several people about the planning. Several people, had a couple people decline me on the planning commission, but
Which farmer's market?
The one in Tongi.
Oh,
okay.
They have a really nice one here in Leavenworth.
Yeah, this is on Thursday evenings. It starts, I don't want to say what exact time. I think it starts at 6 to 8 or 5 to 8. But really, they're doing good. They're just getting started on it. But did visit with several people, and I did find somebody to be on the planning commission. And another thing, we're getting a Dollar General at Linwood, and I've been visiting with those folks about the possibility of establishing a city sales tax. So there you go.
There's some other things Basher's done recently. I'll get you that information. Looks like it's going to work really well.
Oh, good.
No risk to the taxpayer.
That's good.
Yeah, in fact, speaking of that, 5 years ago, Lansing went and did almost a half so we could do Soda Road and do the park out there. And as we all know, it's a user fee. But I'm sure glad to see I'm sure glad to see that's coming down to Linwood. That's good. That's good for them.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get one up north too.
Jeff and I have been talking about what we keep working on that.
It's in the percolation process.
Anything we put in this county that generates sales tax is positive.
Help us out.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Mike?
That's it.
Jeff, I'm sorry. Did I give you an opportunity?
Yeah, I'm good.
And where's the farmer's market?
It's at the library, public library in the parking lot.
The new library?
In the new library.
Okay, right
Parking
on Main
lot.
Street then.
Yep.
Well, 4th Street.
And
Main
Brockoff and the fellow that runs the Back to Nature Farms is on the board of that.
Oh, Megan and
What's his name? I want to say Daniel,
Last
but
name
it's not.
Gillian.
Yeah. I can't think of the first name for some
I
reason.
just know Megan.
But yeah, come to the farmers market. It's getting started. It takes a while for it to get started. And I did notice in my garden that my tomatoes are still green. So probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks they'll turn.
It's on Thursdays.
Thursdays?
I think it's 5 to 8.
Yeah,
Well, if you had a
Wednesday
good
and-
garden, you wouldn't be at the farmer's
Wednesday
market.
and Saturday for the Leavenworth.
Yeah, I've been down that one. But the one down there in Tongass, what day? Wednesday?
Thursday.
Thursday, okay.
So,
Great,
Thursday evening.
Thursday evening.
okay, good. Anyone else? Not, I'll take a motion then.
I move that we adjourn.
Second, motion second, Culberson?
And there's no public comment.
No.
Nobody lined up?
No.
Okay. Aye.
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 Aye.